If you're rehabbing your ACL and your quads still look like this, then this video is for you. Almost 90% of people rehabbing from ACL injury or surgery have significant quad size differences. And the reason why is most people are training it the wrong way for muscle growth. So by the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding on how to fix this. And the third point is something that you've probably never heard from your physical therapist, and it changes everything. Hi, my name is Josh Arwanto. I'm a physical therapist that specializes in ACL return to sport. I've helped over 200 people get over this exact stage. So let's dive into the video. Before we get to the solution, we need to understand why this happens, because once you understand why this happens, you'll understand why the solution makes sense. Now, first, let's start with something that most people don't know. The loss of muscle size in your quads happens right after injury, not surgery. So most people think it's usually because of the surgery that caused them to have a small quad. But really, this whole atrophy process, so the loss of muscle size, started happening as soon as the injury happened. 3 reasons why this happens. Number 1 is neurological inhibition. In simple terms, it basically means your brain has lost the connection to your quads temporarily, right? This doesn't have to stay permanent, but we do have to regain it back. Number 2 is immobility. If you've had ACL injury or surgery, you've had a couple of weeks off where you're not moving as much as you were before. You've likely walked less steps, you're putting less load on your leg, and that's what causes muscle shrinking to happen really, really fast. And number 3, pain and swelling. So both of these things can actively suppress the muscle activation. This is a completely normal process and it happens after any injury or surgery. But particularly for the ACL, your body's in protective mode and it doesn't care about growing muscles at the moment. It's just trying to manage a new acute injury or surgery. So neurological inhibition, your lack of brain to muscle connection, the pain and swelling that you're likely having, and just overall taking less steps on the muscle can all add up and accumulate to the quad size that you see today. That is why quad size can disappear so fast, but it takes so long to get it back. Now, here's why it matters more than just how it looks. Quad size is one of the biggest predictors of quad strength. And without having full quad strength, your injury risk or re-injury when you're back to sport is going to increase. Not to mention the long-term effects of arthritis. So we know ACL injuries are linked to higher chances of arthritis in the future, but with less quad strength, research is showing that you're more at a faster pace to get arthritis. So simply put, restoring the size in your quads will lead to more strength and also potentially will give you better long-term knee health. The good news is you can beat the odds. I've seen this happen numerous times with the clients I've worked with. There's one client that came to me at 7 months post-op and he had a significant quad difference. And with the right approach, we were able to rebuild pretty much close to symmetry within 3-4 months. So it's definitely possible, but you do have to rehab differently than most people have been telling you to. And that's what we're going to get into now. So here's the mindset that you need to have to grow your quads back. You need to think like a bodybuilder. And it doesn't matter if you're not a bodybuilder. Most people that I work with are not bodybuilders. It's about having a mindset of one. Your quads need to be treated like muscles that needs to grow. So what does that actually mean? It means you have to do things and exercises that target and isolate the quads. So great examples are leg extensions, especially single leg, and polyquin step-ups, for example. These exercises put the quads under load, targeted, isolated, without too much compensation from other muscles. Now, exercises that you've been given, likely squats, lunges, step-ups, are great examples. They're also great exercises, but they don't isolate the quads. They work other muscles like the glutes, the hamstrings, that can help with that movement, but it doesn't necessarily give enough stimulus to the quads to grow. So what you want to be doing is you're going to have to really focus a little bit more on isolated movements like leg extensions and polyquin step-ups, in addition to the squats, lunges, and step-ups that you're already doing. So the key is really doing both isolated and compound movements. Now here's the 3 key pieces that most people miss, and you need all 3 in order to build your quads properly. Number 1 is understanding volume. In a span of 1 week, you've got to be hitting at least 12 sets of quad-focused exercises. So let's take a leg extension, for example. If you have 3 sessions a week, that means if in order to hit 12 sets a week, you've got to hit 4 sets per session. So you've got to be doing 4 sets of leg extensions, single leg, times 3 in order to get the 12 sets per week. This is when meaningful muscle growth tends to happen. So no matter how it's split up, whether you do 2 times a week training or 3 or 4, as long as you're hitting your 12 sets of quad focused exercises per week, you should be in good shape. Number 2 is a concept called reps in reserve. Reps in reserve means how many reps do you have left before you fail that set. So let's take a set of leg press, for example. You have to find out what is the maximum amount of weight that you can push until failure. Now, failure means you literally can't push anymore. Most people in ACL rehab don't even know what their failure repetition is. So first step is to find out what is the most amount of weight I can do on this leg press, and then find out how many reps is my failure. Let's take 10, for example. Then you want to at least hit 8 reps or 9 reps every single time you do leg press. Most people I speak to are hitting 6 or 7, right? They're not getting even close to failure. That's why the muscles are not getting enough stimulus to build, because they're just not getting enough intensity. Pushing to this intensity is uncomfortable. Shouldn't be painful, but it should be uncomfortable. But that's how growth happens. And the last concept is time under tension. This means you want to put your muscle under tension for the long amount of time. Simply put, let's take a leg extension, for example. Particularly on the way down, you want to go super slow and at least 2 or 3 second count on the way down. This low slowing phase is where most of the work and the muscle growth happens. So if you're rushing through your exercises, you're leaving a lot of growth on the table. Aside from doing the rehab at the gym, there are 2 non-negotiables that need to happen if you want your quad size to grow. Number 1 is protein intake. This is very spoken about in the athletic world and as well as in the bodybuilding world. But in ACL rehab, it applies the same way. If you want those muscles to grow, you're gonna have to give it the stimulus and the nutrition that it needs. First, find out what your body weight is in pounds or kilograms. You wanna be hitting at least 0.8 grams to 1 gram per pound of body weight. So if you're 160, then you should be hitting between 128 and 160 grams per day. Most people I speak to are not hitting these numbers, so please check your numbers. The second one is sleep. It sounds super obvious, right? You probably know that sleep is really important for overall health, but when it comes to muscle growth, this is particularly important because your muscles won't grow when you train. The muscles grow when you're recovering and sleeping. So generally, you want to hit at least 7 hours per night. Good quality sleep, you can dive into that whole process, but overall, as long as you're getting at least 7 to 9 hours, you should be in good shape. If you're only getting 6, 5, 4 hours a night and you're not seeing your quads grow, that could be part of the solution. If you want to see how rebuilding your quads is part of a bigger return to sports plan, I've put together a free video training that explains the exact process that I used for over 200 people rehabbing from ACL injury. I'll drop that link in the description. In closing, having quad size is not just a cosmetic or aesthetic thing. It can impact your ability to return to sports, potentially reduce chances of re-injury, and also your long-term knee health. So here are the main points again. Isolate your quads, get enough volume of training, push close to failure, slow down your reps, and most importantly, do them consistently. I'll see you in the next one.